Hello everyone, it's Chris here, and we are watching a recording of Destiny. Now, I'm making this video right now to sort of share my experiences now that I'm somewhere around the midpoint of the game, nearing the end. At least I think I'm nearing the end. By the time you watch this video, I will have advanced at least a couple of levels. By the time I'm making this recording, I've made it up to level 18, bordering on level 19 now, I think. So I'm getting closer and closer to the soft level cap that is level 20, and from there I'm going to be moving onward into the advanced levels through the item system that Bungie has going on here. So the point of this is I'm going to be talking at least about what's going on right now. What are my thoughts on the game? And to be quite honest with you, I'm not too sure. I'm feeling something of a conflict of feelings when it comes to Destiny, because, well, I don't really know exactly how I feel. What is this game? How am I supposed to feel about it? What genre is it? It seems that Destiny right now, for me, seems to have something of an identity crisis. It seems like, look, I'm going to stop for a second. Look at these loading screens. I've never hit these loading screens before in any of the maps. Like, I was on Earth, I went to the moon, and now that I'm on Venus, I'm hitting these loading points. And I'm also hitting the loading points when it comes to Mars, like where I am right now. So, pardon me, I don't know where it's coming from or why it's coming up now, but I don't like it. I don't like my persistent world to be peppered with loading screens. That doesn't really bode well, but I'm going back to what I was saying about the conflicted feelings and all that, because now I'm midpoint in the game, I'm still wondering to myself, what am I doing here? As in, the plot doesn't seem to have very many strong points to it. It just seems so far that I'm just going to point A, figuring out I need to go to point B. It doesn't really seem like I've got very much going on here right now, other than the fact that I'm supposed to find an object, bring it to these guys who tell me to find another object so that I can continue the story. Now, is that... it doesn't really sound like a very, very strong narrative, and now that I'm here on Venus, it's... why am I here? Why am I in this one particular location? Because I guess I'm at a university right now, and I apologize in advance if it looks like I'm playing a little sluggishly. Sometimes during this recording I got phone calls, so if it looks like I'm slacking a little bit in the gameplay department, it's because I'm trying to play and answer a phone call at the same time. So I apologize for that in advance. So let me start off right now by saying that I actually kind of enjoy Destiny. I kind of enjoy it for the experience that it is. The gameplay is very great. The gunplay is fluid. I like the motion. I like this Sparrow right here. I enjoy driving it. And loading screen again. Loading screen. And talk about breaking the immersion and all that. I don't know if that's a problem with my network connection or if it's a problem with something else, but loading screens really, really take me out of this world. So I like Destiny. I like the gameplay mechanics. I like the idea of leveling up and using a whole bunch of guns in a loot-based system. And I kind of like the settings. The settings of these things are beautiful. I like the idea of being on Venus. It's been totally terraformed, and now it's a jungle instead of like the hellish landscape that we know it today. And we still got plenty of volcanoes that kind of erupt blue for some reason, but, well, they never explain it. I'm sorry if I sound a little bit harsh with that, but that's pretty much what it is. They don't explain it. Why am I here in this location? What is this location? How did Venus become terraformed? And how did people move in? Why are people here of all places? Are there other cities on Venus? I know it sounds like I'm being an asshole about this, but I'm very serious about this. Oh my god, that was a great knife throw. Long range knife critical hit. Ooh, oh, it's so good. But yeah, if I'm trying to get invested into the story, if I want to get invested into what's going on here, if you want me to take your plot seriously and buy the fact that you are Earth's last hope against the darkness and all that, explain to me why I'm here on Venus. Explain what these things are. What are these creatures? I think I'm fighting the Vex right now, which are a race of robotic creatures. They're robotic creatures, but they have names that seem to derive from fantasy mythological creatures like goblins, hobgoblins, harpies, and minotaurs. Okay, going back to what I said about Destiny seeming to have an identity crisis, it seems to me that looking at all the enemies that I've encountered thus far, it seems to me that Destiny really started out as a medieval style game. And you know what? Based on the concept art that I've been able to find, I think this is really true. It seems like there is some sort of, at some sort of point along the time, it stopped being a purely medieval game, or a fantasy-based game with maybe some sci-fi elements, if I'm correct in my research on the matter, and it seemed to be more solid sci-fi. And take a look at this harpy. Yeah, that doesn't remind you of an engineer in that body armor from ODST, does it at all? It sure reminded me of it looking at it there for the first time. So, at some point along the line, I think it became a pure science fiction shooter, but it seemed to retain a lot of the fantasy aspects from it, and I don't really know if that was a really strong point. I think they could have been a little bit more creative. I think they could have sort of let loose themselves in this massive world and sort of take the time to really build that sort of backstory we know Bungie can do. We know Bungie can do that. We know all those books of Halo that have been able to flesh out that universe by throwing all the different alien races, their home worlds, the freaking atmospheric compositions, their religion, their political backgrounds, the weapons that they carry. We know Bungie can do this because they've shown us that they can do this in all of the Halo games they've done before. They can world build. They can. Why are they having such trouble doing it here right now? Okay, I just don't understand. It just seems like such a company that has a good grasp of how to write a backstory. I'm just not getting a sense of what I'm supposed to do. In fact, the only way that I can actually understand what's going on is if I find items that loading screen that can find. Yeah, are you getting broken from this immersion? Are you getting broken from my monologuing here? Because, well, that's what it feels like. It just seems that they don't understand how to make a world and see explaining things like this. What the hell is this? What is this? What am I looking at? What does it do? Explain it to me. Am I missing a freaking grimoire card? What the fuck am I looking at? And you know what? Ghost actually says that these ruins here predate humanity by a couple billion years. It's just written off as sort of like a non-important fact. That's kind of important because that means that this was here when Venus was young. Like, if it was a couple billion years, it's at least close to half the age of the Earth. In which case, that was here back when the Earth was like a molten ball of rock, or at least was cooling down to that point. So, explain, game. Explain. Give me a grimoire card at the very least, or not some passing reference to these ruins. You have so much opportunity here to suck me into this world, and you're fumbling. How? You literally have a great setup. You can explain something about these ancient aliens and stuff like that, and why they chose Venus over Earth. Because, well, I would think that some sort of alien race with good judgment would choose Earth, since they see that it has more potential for being a life-bearing planet. Or maybe they put it here so it's like a freaking monolith. I don't know. It doesn't tell me. It's not explaining to me. As a gamer, as a person who appreciates story in a game, as a person who picked up this game expecting a great story told to me, expecting to get lost in the world, this is disappointing on a level that I can barely even explain. As a writer, as a person who looked up to Bungie, as someone who could actually inspire me to actually become a writer, because that's what Bungie did. It made me want to actually write books because I actually appreciated it. And that's why it's such like a personal thing to me. Moving on from that, exploration. It seems that after the moon, there was a deep drop in my desire to actually explore a whole bunch of areas. Because it seems the most I'm actually getting out of this seems to be loot crates. When I was back in Russia, I was assuming that like most of the copy and paste caves that all share mostly the same design were mostly just places where I could find loot crates. And loot crates are good, but why do I want to go off the beaten path all the time just to look for these crates? Now, yeah, as I was saying, in Russia was sort of diminishing. By the moon, I was barely even interested, and I didn't even want to go in the couple caves that were actually there. I didn't want to go off the beaten path. I just wanted to complete the missions and do the strikes. So, what does that mean? That I'm not actually bothered enough to actually explore your game world, which is pretty cluttered in the way that it's actually designed. I found this. I've made it to Mars, and I found that none of the maps actually tend to have large, wide open spaces. It tends to be kind of cluttered in a way. I think the only time where you actually get to see some more wide open areas, aside from Russia, is when you make it to Mars. Is when you get your ass to Mars. And some people would probably say, but you know what, old Russia actually has a large, wide open spaces and all that. Yeah, but I've already been there. In the beta, I spent days going around that sort of area, hoping that they opened up all the areas, and you know what, unfortunately they haven't. In all of the areas that I've been to so far, they haven't opened it up. Now, let me give you an example of that, and because anyone who played the beta will obviously know this, is in one of the underground areas in old Russia, there is a fight scene where you fight a couple of Hallowed Knights, and this was like a big no-no, because when you were there, they were immeasurably strong. You could not face them because they had like an unknown level. Now, when I was actually strong enough to fight them, I made my way back to Russia, killed them, and explored the area. You want to know what I found? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. You spent this time trying to build up that there was something behind there. Why else did you have like a freaking beef gate like that to prevent lower ranked players from getting in there? Unless there was something very good. There's nothing there. So you got my hopes up thinking that there was some, at the very least, a golden loot crate behind there, and it's not there. What the hell, man? You don't do that. You don't do that. It sort of insults me and my intelligence, or insults my trust in you. Yeah. So, I do have to say, I like the loot. I like the loot system. I have to compare it to Borderlands because of its, well, it's what it is. I'm sorry, I tried to go through that fog gate back there. I tried to see if I could potentially go through there. I've run into more fog gates than in Dark Souls. So, just that minor little thing I just noticing on the screen. Now, I do like the loot. It's good. I've been playing the Crucible a little bit, and I'll get to that in a second. Well, whatever time I have left, I've only got about 5 minutes. But I'm starting to pick up better loot. Most of my items are all green items, so I'm pretty good there. So I can upgrade them all, and holy crap. You know what? This is actually pretty good. This is actually pretty good. Like, there was a bunch of enemies here. I actually felt a little bit of stress in this area because they were trying to rush you, and you had to pick them all off. This was what the game sort of did well. When it wants to make you feel stressed, it does, especially in these segments here. But the Crucible gave me a couple of weapons that sort of made it feel a little bit better. I picked up a blue pulse rifle from there, so it made me realize that, you know what, I can play a little bit here. I can actually gain a couple of weapons. That's pretty good. I was actually able to find my first purple drop from a golden loot crate when I was out on Mars, I think it was. And you know what? I think it is actually the first purple item I've ever gotten in an MMO, period. And yes, I'm using the term MMO. That's just what I think it is. But we're not here to debate that. So my first purple drop, and it made me feel good. Of course, I can't access it until I get to level 20. But at the rate I'm going, it's probably going to be within a couple more levels. So I should probably be able to hit the soft level cap by next time. And that's good because that'll give me access to a whole bunch of the Crucible items. And the Crucible items right now are very good because it gives me an edge against some of the other players. Now, even though weapon damage is normalized in the Crucible, the other sort of things like the weapon upgrades, and I'm sure the armor mods, I believe, are still a factor, so that even though the damage output is the same, how those damage outputs affect your enemy are not. And that sort of concerns me in a way because even it's still like an imbalanced mess. Especially when you can spawn a golden gun like I can and totally blow 3 guys away and they can't even touch you. There's no way to dodge it, there's no way to counter it. Actually, there is one way to counter that, and that is not to get hit. And the same thing goes for the Warlock special ability. I don't even know what the Titan's ability is, which is a little bit strange. I should look into that a little bit more. But the Crucible is actually kind of fun, all things considered, when I'm able to find a game, of course, because the network errors have been going on for me, and I'm not sure why that is. Maybe that's just me, maybe that's my internet, or maybe it's the servers because there's a bunch of people on. but I'm at least liking it, and it's fun. It's totally imbalanced, but it's fun, especially when it works in my favor, like grabbing a pike and totally mowing down a whole bunch of other helpless guys. I've been able to get like large killing sprees that way, and it's very, very good. And I'm enjoying it. I hope I can enjoy the Crucible a little bit more, the imbalanced mess that it is. I hope they do balance it. And I'm sure there's an event coming up in a day or so, at least. So I'm going to see how that happens. I'm going to see how that goes about. I'm probably not going to try the Iron Banner because I'm probably going to get utterly destroyed. So there's a minute and a half left in this recording, so I'm going to say, I'm gonna sum up pretty much my thoughts here. Destiny right now is giving me a very, very, very mixed impression, especially since the reviews are coming in. I know that GameSpot just gave it a 6, and IGN's coming up with theirs, and all the consensus is that this is a flawed game. The potential's there, but it's flawed, and this pretty much lines up with my ideas right now. This game has potential, or had potential, and Bungie really, 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 really needs to get on the ball now, because I think they kind of dropped it. And I think that they can do it. I think they can salvage it, but they really need to put their hearts and minds to it now, because the damage is already being done now, and it's not looking good for them. Because, well, they're in the low 70s right now on Metacritic, and that speaks volumes when Titanfall is rated higher than you. Not that Titanfall's a bad game, that's besides the point. The point is that they can do better. I know they can do better, but they really need to get on the ball. They really need to pick it up, because Destiny has so much potential. But don't make me go online to have to check the basic lore. Learn from Mass Effect 1. Learn that you can do this. Learn that you can pick it up and be a better studio, because I believe in you. Let's see what I got here. Did I get anything? Oh, that's good. I got a fusion rifle there. That was, yeah, I already dismantled that by this time. Anyways, that's my video. Those are my quick thoughts on the matter. I want to thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. I should be able to finish the game soon and give some definitive thoughts. But Destiny, okay game. It's flawed. Not the next big thing, but it's a good game. Anyways, I want to thank you guys for watching once again. And as always, enjoy your games, my friends. This is Actual, and I'm signing off. See you in the next review video, hopefully.